Good day to you, or good evening, wherever you might be. What you're looking at is the leveling process that I used for the posts of the pergola. They're 4x4x8s, as you can see. The price and the length from the foundation of the back porch to the height that I wanted it. That was just to match the gutter. I didn't want to make it too low or too high. The cost of the buckets, those are just basic Lowe's buckets. And the Quikrete, I don't remember the price, but it was the quickest drying, least expensive bags. They're 50-pound bags, and the way that I did that was I poured half of my water and half of the bag in the first bucket. I didn't do all these at the same time, I did them individually. I mixed that, and what I ended up mixing it with is just a root vegetable tool from my garden. It worked. It's not ruined. So yeah, I mixed that, and then I took the post and put it down to the bottom, and I just shook it around to where it looked center. I eyeballed center of the buckets, and it turned out okay. But yeah, and I tied them up with the 550 or paracord. There's rings attached to the actual 2x4s that are attached to the garage, and that was my way. If it was leaning a certain way, I'd just pull the cord and tie it off with while using the level. But yeah, and after it was centered, I took the rest of the Quikrete and the water and I mixed it all together, and I let that bucket sit. That took about, it says 20 minutes, but it took about 30 minutes each one. It's kind of colder climate here in Washington, so it took a little longer to dry. Yeah, so you see the 4x4 sticking out of the far bucket on the right. I was just having a problem when I tied it off trying to level it, so I stuck that 4x4 in there, and it worked like a charm. That was about 2 hours total dry time for those. If you're not familiar with leveling, for the post, I leveled two sides. So we'll just say the left side and then the side that you're looking at. These containers, you will not find them in your outdoor section at Lowe's. They're actually inside with all the household storage containers. The reason I chose that is because looking in the outdoor section, a bucket this large would have cost me almost $25, and taking the time to go inside and see what else is in there was very beneficial to me. So I gave you the price of the bucket right there. The spray paint, you can choose any spray paint you want. My wife just wanted green, and it went best with the grass, so that's why I chose that color. But yeah, the description. So what I want to say is, let's see, 2 coats. That's 2 coats on the outside. I did not paint the inside because, as you'll see later, we filled it with soil and some flowers. So that's 2 coats on the outside, shaking the can very thoroughly to get every last drop out of there. And it worked great. Here you see the really important dimensions, the most important dimensions I forgot to leave out. I apologize. They're from the planter buckets themselves. And that's very important because that's going to determine your dimensions at the tops of your posts. When you are measuring for the trim and your beams, you want to measure from the top, because if somehow your beams got out of level during the drying process, those dimensions are going to be out of whack. So you can fix it, but it's got to be very accurate. Around the inside of those planer boxes is almost 4 inches of clearance between the buckets for the concrete, so that's plenty of room for soil. There's only 3 plants in each bucket, just due to affordability, but I could probably get 3 more in each one just to add for aesthetics. If you see something in here that I didn't account for, leave a comment and let me know. and I'll go back in and edit it in the description. There's two different pictures here. The top left is the brackets that I used. I just want to give you a closer look of what they look like. The spacing between the beams, it says off-center beam. That's crucial. You get your center of the 96 inches from your length, and your first beam is going to go right in the center of that. And then from there I did the outside beams, and then from there I found center again, so on and so forth. You can use as many beams as you want. This looked better for what we wanted to do. Finding center is crucial for each beam that you do, or each set of beams that you do. As long as you do that, it's gonna look fine, even if you're off a 16th one side or another. That 24 inches that you see, that's from the top of the trim to the bottom of that bottom board. And what I did, you can't see it from this view, but I left 1.5 inches of the board showing, so that if I want to add some more of that hatch pattern lower for privacy, I have something to screw it into. Yeah, this is actually wood. The hatch pattern is wood. There are other options. I think the next one was made of plastic. These were, I think they were $8.19 per 8 foot by 24 inch section. The next price was, I believe it was $12, and that was white plastic. And then more wood grain look just escalates from there. Totally up to what you can afford. What I wrote about this view is very self-explanatory. It was just very close to being done, and I decided to take a picture of it. I took this when we were completely finished, and the thought process now was, what kind of plants do we want to hang as vines? If I'm gonna put plants, where can I put the pots at? Should I build shelves on this thing? We also started talking about lights and where we were gonna get those and what we could afford. But what I want to say about this is, I know a lot of pergolas actually have beams going in the opposite direction. I still have plans to do that, but as of right now, I think it looks pretty awesome. My wife agrees. People who drive by are breaking their necks seeing what's going on. I didn't know if I could get away with building this as per the instructions for base housing. A lady sent me an email. She said, I noticed you have a wooden structure being built in your yard. Let's have a discussion. And so I called her and we had a discussion. And I assured her that it was freestanding. There's nothing attached to the home itself. And if I were to have to move, I can disassemble it. There's no wood glue anywhere. It's just taking the time to take it down. I've got everything marked on the inside so that if I were to have to set my beams back up, or the hatch pattern, all I'd have to do is measure. All I'd have to do is remeasure, and everything can go back together the way that it was. At the bottom of the screen, you can see what kind of lights we got, where we got them from. How much were they? $30. So $30 for 50 feet of outdoor lights. So right where that hatch pattern starts to go up to the top is where I left the connection for those lights. Went to the store and got a 9-foot extension cord, and so that's plugged in with electrical tape wrapped around both attachments, and it's actually zip tied. The extension cord is zip tied at the base of where the planter and the post meet on that back side, the back left side. So yeah, we were really happy to be able to take this picture. Again, like I said, there's tons of things you can add on to this. We even thought about maybe growing strawberries off of it and letting them hang it down over the sides. The options are endless. When I priced the whole thing out, I I was hoping 150, but it ended up being about 300 for everything, just simply because I had 0 materials for this thing. So I still think that's cheaper than going to Costco or Lowe's and buying one that's completely finished, stained, all that stuff. This is all raw. It's going to get weathered, which is the look that I wanted to go for. Staining it wouldn't have been difficult. It's just I didn't want to put the time into it, and it's going to look exactly what we want it to look like in a few years. If you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.